If you are a queen in your own right, you don't have to carry a sword to win your battles, even if you are a Viking queen. And my life is a real proof of how to be a winner, having only your brain as a weapon in the brutal world of men. 2 kings I married. 2 I burned, and 1 I had drowned. My name is Sigrid the Haughty, and this is my story. Once upon a time in the frosty lands of Scandinavia, there lived a woman whose charm was as icy as a polar bear's grin. Well, and whose temper was hotter than a dragon's breath. That woman was Sigrid the Haughty, namely myself. Now let me tell you, my romantic escapades were more dramatic than a soap opera on a longboat. Well, first in line was Eric the Victorious. The guy was probably called Victorious because he managed to survive my fiery personality long enough to marry me. But alas, even his victories on the battlefield couldn't prepare him for the battlefield of love. You see, I with my haughtiness turned up to 11, made sure our marriage was as stormy as a tempest at sea. Whatever, after we managed to pop out a little prince named Olaf the Swede, my hubby decided he was done with me calling me the most quarrelsome woman there ever was, and escaped for good. Before long, the word reached me that I had become a dowager queen. But I did not have to grieve for long. As you can guess, I got a visitor, or, if to be more precise, my next drama named Harold Grans. A little prehistory. When Harold was only 11 years old, his father, the king of Vestfold, was slain, and Harold fled to Sweden, where he got under the wing of my father Skagel Toast, the powerful and rich strongman. So the guy and I often hanged out together. He was basically my foster brother. Father often took the boy along on his Viking expeditions to help him grow as a man. Although the result of the upbringing project was a bit questionable, Harold managed, not without the help of other prominent Viking guys, to become the king of Vestfold and Agder. He married Asta, the daughter of Gudbrand Kula, who was quite a decent girl in my opinion. Whatever, when I had learned that Harold was nearby on his way to raid in the Baltic Sea, I'd invited him to a great banquet. Not gonna lie, I wanted to remind him that even though he was a big boy with his own kingdom now, Sigrid was still the boss. We had festivities going on for a few days, and afterwards I personally served him in his chamber. However, my big bro took offense the next day, when I favorably compared my own possessions and power in Sweden to his in Norway. That left the guy sullen in spite of the great gifts I gave him. After stewing over this for a season, Harold again raided the Baltic and visited Sweden on his return. He sent for me and proposed that we marry. But I was shrewd enough to see his hidden motive to submit me. So I dismissed this, pointing out that he already had a wife, Asta, who seemed compatible with him, but he insisted Asta, though noble and good, was not as highborn as he. After a few further cursory words, I rode away, leaving the guy furious and extremely disappointed. In his stubbornness, he decided to ride to my home to press his case. And that was a mistake that cost him a fortune, for the boy had crossed the border. He arrived with a large body of men only to find another suitor also present, a king called Visivaldur from Gardariki. These big-headed men thought that would be a piece of cake to take me as a wife and get my kingdom as a dowry. Their impudence really boiled my blood. I was going to teach the guys a good lesson. But I managed to take my anger under control, for I was not only Sigrid the Haughty, I was Sigrid the Wise. So I housed both of my royal suitors in the same quarters, and served large quantities of drink. And while these guys were feasting, I came up with a plan to get rid of 2 birds with 1 stone. The vengeance was mine. Queen Sigrid was gonna have her way. When the night came, I had 2 kings fully drunk and unconscious sleeping in the chamber. Then I called my servants and had them set fire to the structure and kill anyone who made it out, declaring that this should prevent other petty kings from coming to my country to seek my hand. The word spread quickly about how 2 kings had been done away with by a woman, and I was pretty sure my peace was guaranteed. However, my experience taught me that nothing can stop a man hungry for power. When the spring came, another candidate for my hand and riches appeared on the horizon. This time it was Olaf Tryggvason, the King of Norway. After exchanging messages, Olaf proposed that we marry. By that time I had become a bit bored, and I felt I could do with an adventure. So I decided to put the guy to the test. I agreed, and in commemoration of this Olaf sent me a great gold ring he had taken as a prize to demonstrate his generosity. But Sigrid the Wise was not one to be fooled. I gave the ring to my goldsmiths, who discovered it to be only gold-plated brass, and this made me question this king's truthfulness. Then we met in person. Imagine what he did. He insisted that in order to marry I must convert to Christianity, to which I responded that I would not abandon the faith that I have previously held, as have my kinsmen before me. And I would also make no objection to his believing in whatever god he liked. My response made him expose his true self in that very moment. In a rage, Olaf struck me with a glove, and I just calmly told him, that could well cost you your life. After that we parted. Sigrid would not allow anyone to assault her, so I knew it was only a matter of time to put the man on the spot. Now there is something I need to tell you. I did have a reputation as a wise and shrewd woman, and I knew very well how to win a place in the world of powerful men under the sun. However, the time came even for me to get a pleasant surprise. I had ruled my country for 10 more years without any further incidents until one day I met Sweyn Forkbeard, who was king of Denmark, to discuss our kingdom's diplomatic affairs. The Danish king had recently become a widower, and to my amazement, I liked his decent and respectful personality. We quickly got along well, and when Sweyn proposed to me, I was glad to say yes. My son Olaf had become of age to take over the kingdom, and through my marriage an alliance was formed between Denmark and Sweden, which benefited both our countries politically and economically. My new husband and I had a wonderful honeymoon. We spent it in a romantic seclusion, making plans for our future, and I discovered that Sigrid, who had been the lightning and the thunder, scaring for so many years everyone around her, suddenly was a tender and affectionate wife for the men she truly loved. Moreover, she felt no more need to have the upper hand in family matters. The shrew queen was tamed without a battle. But do you think that in my family idol I forgot about the nasty king of Norway? No way. It happened so, that Sweyn had his own reasons to dislike the guy, for his own sister had left the husband her family had chosen for her, namely Sweyn's first wife's father, and run away to Norway, where she married Olaf, which resulted in hatred between the 2 kings. And now I spotted the right moment to pay off my debt. Olaf's wife and I goaded our husbands into conflict. This shared animosity led to the Battle of Svold. My son, the King of Sweden, was already a grown man, and I am proud to say, I had raised a real Viking, fearless and smart, like his mother. He joined Sweyn in the military campaign against Olaf of Norway, and our strong army gained the victory in the battle. And what about Olaf? Seeing he had lost the battle, the guy jumped into the sea. He might have not been a great swimmer, since he immediately made his way to Valhalla. Now that I was done with all my enemies and found a real love, there was only one thing I wanted to make my happiness complete.
They got me to thinking, though. What could I possibly give you ever that you don't already have?
A little girl.